Welcome everyone to another PLM's event channel, I guess is what I'm going to call it now. PLM Talks, PLM Events. I'm here with Sarah Hans. Is it Hans or Hans? Are you a
I say
fairy tale
Hans, but
character?
my parents say Hans, so it
But
doesn't
they're
really matter.
wrong. I like Hans now better. Sarah Hans. So fancy with her fancy hot dogs. And we're here to celebrate the launch of her newly released novella, Asylum, which came out from Raw Dog Screaming Press just this past Thursday, March 14th, whichever day that was in this year of our Kitty Lord 2024. So, and you can actually see the cover here. Yay. All the cats. Well,
Little version.
oh yeah.
Will it
Oh,
will it do the
oh,
thing?
oh,
It's
there it
glowing.
is. Yeah. So first of all, congrats on your book launch. That's super exciting.
Thanks.
Yeah. So I'll introduce you now officially instead of just saying that you're the queen of fancy hot dogs. So let me make sure I have your updated bio. Sarah Hans is an award-winning author, editor, and teacher whose stories have appeared in more than 40 publications, including Apex Magazine and Pseudopod. In addition to Asylum, she's the author of the horror novel, oh no, Entomophobia,
Yeah, you got it. You got it. Yeah.
and the forthcoming short story collection, Chorus of Whispers, as well as several other books. She lives in Ohio with her partner, an amazing kid, more pets than she can afford, and enough craft supplies to keep her busy for the next 200 years, and is the queen of fancy hot dogs. I added that. So welcome to my show, my launch of your book, which is amazing.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, are you super excited to have it out?
Yeah, I am. Publishing is always a long process. So, um, sorry, there's going to be barking.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm
We love
very
animals
excited.
on
The
this
dogs are
channel.
also excited that the book is being launched.
So you say you have more pets than you can afford. So now we need to know all of the pets and their names.
Okay, so there's four right now.
Okay.
If you don't count the teenager that lives here.
The teenager
Um,
counts as four
so
alone.
there's two dogs and two cats. And at
Oh.
one time we had six, but a couple of them passed away in the fall.
Mhm.
Well, one was very old, so and then but we keep my stepchildren keep bringing their pets here, so we're the pet parents.
I mean,
Just
that's
drop your babies off
adorable.
with us.
That's
Yeah,
adorable, though. And I do need to ask this, entomophobia. What does that mean?
the fear of bugs,
Oh,
insects.
okay.
Yeah.
I guess I read it almost like entomophobia, and I was like, is that the fear of
Mm.
being entombed? But that's fair.
Personally, I am not phobic of bugs. For me it's spiders. But I sort of like I don't even think I could write a book with a spider in it. Like that's how scary spiders
I
are to me. So
I
I had to
mean,
kind of like tap into that fear when I wrote
yeah.
about bugs.
I mean, technically, you wrote about an abandoned asylum, so there has to be spiders in there, unless the
I
cats are
mean, yeah,
eating
but
all of them.
I didn't think about them. I didn't write about them. The
You're
all
just
the
like,
feral cats are taking care of that problem.
bless
The
them,
asylum
doing
is
God's work, they are. All right. Well, again, thank you everyone for coming. It's St. Patrick's Day, but I'm assuming everyone's hungover from celebrating yesterday. And so we're going to start with one of the most exciting parts, an exclusive interview with Sarah herself. So let's start by, can you tell us a little bit more about your writing journey? So we got your bio, but can you go into maybe your process or how you got started into writing?
Well, I've been writing since I could write. Like once I learned to shape letters, we were off to the races. Before that, I told stories to my stuffed animals.
Oh,
So,
were they good
uh,
audiences though?
yeah, really good audience, man. They always liked every story. So then I stopped writing for a while. I when I was like 18 years old, I sent off a story to, I think it was fantasy and science fiction, and that was back when you had to send like the paper
I remember
copy.
that. You had to buy the
And
magazine and it'd be like, send it in with a $5 reading fee and a paper
and
copy.
right, and if you sent them a self-addressed stamped envelope, they would send it back to you, and so
Yep.
they did. And I think I was a little heartbroken, and then also I was going off to college, so like I just kind of I didn't stop writing completely, but I sort of put that energy into other creative pursuits. And then, 10 years later, I went to a science fiction convention and met someone who's still a really good friend of mine, Steve Sauce. Some of the people here know him, and he actually published the first couple of things that I did. And he was on a panel talking about how like he was making money on short stories, and I was like, "Wait,
You get
I
paid?
can make money selling short stories? Okay." So I just gave it a try, and I was really lucky that the first couple that I wrote sold. They didn't make much money. It wasn't pro rates or anything. Wasn't even token rates. It was like 1 cent a word. But fortunately they sold, and so that was enough to be like, "Oh, maybe I'm okay at this and I should just keep doing it." And so I did. And the goal originally was just to be able to pay for conventions with my writing money, which I usually manage. I usually break even
Yeah,
with
that's
all the
fair.
convention expenses.
So, where do you mainly write horror then?
I do at this point, yeah. I do also write science fiction and fantasy, and it's possible that I write other more scandalous things under a pen name.
Oh, okay.
And if
Hmm.
you message me privately, I'll tell you my pen name. But
Everyone DM Sarah for the sauce.
right.
If you want the
Yeah, so
sexy writing.
I'll write. Yeah, I'll write anything if you pay me money, really, honestly.
I mean,
But
it's
I
fair, yeah.
found that when I was sort of finding my voice as a writer, that even if I was writing science fiction or fantasy, it usually came out horror. So many of my stories wouldn't sell to science fiction or fantasy venues because they'd say it's too scary, and then the horror venues would say it wasn't scary enough. So I had to kind of lean into like, okay, I'm just going to be a horror writer and accept
I
the inevitable.
I always find it interesting when, like, some places might gatekeep horror by saying it's not scary enough. Because I don't think all horror needs to be like balls to the walls, all the time. I like a good quiet horror or like a subtle horror. Or, I mean, cozy horror is now becoming a thing, even though that's contested. Um, so yeah, do it. Write for yourself, Sarah. Write your smut. Just kidding.
I do think my stories are not very violent usually.
Yeah,
And, I don't do splatterpunk. I don't do gore very often. There might be one gory scene in
yeah.
in a book or in a story, and that's it. And so I think sometimes people mistake that, or I'll write a horror story and then the ending will be slightly uplifting.
I
And
think
so
that's
then,
nice though.
because it didn't end on a down note, is that horror, right? Like, so there are a lot of people who feel that if it doesn't end um tragically for the
Yeah.
main character, then it's not horror. And they're welcome to that opinion. But many, especially horror novels, end on a positive note because
Mhm.
after reading, 300 some pages, you don't want to be left with like a hollow hole in your in your
Yeah.
heart. Um, and I feel like short stories should get kind of the same leeway, that sometimes the most horrific things happen to you, but you still come out okay. Um, or maybe even in a better spot than you were before. You may not realize right now that it's a better spot because it wasn't where you wanted to be, but for the main character, it may be the best thing for them.
Agreed. I personally like a wide range of horror because sometimes I want the really bleak story and I'll read that, but sometimes you want the story where like, you're not going to be left staring at the wall for like 10 minutes after and feeling like life is pointless. So,
Yeah.
I agree with you. I once ended a short story. It was an uplifting ending and it also ended with a really terrible bee pun. And when it got picked up for reprint, they were like, you have to take the pun out. I was like, my art, how dare. It's like, how dare you make me take out my bee pun?
Yeah. That's not cool.
Our
The
horror is
bee
just
pun is critical.
exactly, it was part of the art, really. Oh, Eliza says, I want your non-bleak ending, Sarah. Well, Eliza, buy the
Thank
book.
you.
Okay, buy the book. I'll put the link in chat. Here you go. Or win the book, really. Because again, there are three
Yeah.
giveaways today. Yes. We went on about books here, but let's go on about the one we're celebrating today, Asylum. Can you tell us about the books, keeping it spoiler free, like generally what the book's about?
Sure. So the book is about four meth addicts, and
Good start, good start.
yeah, I mean, and they are fleeing the police and also want to like get clean of their addiction. Some of them are fleeing the police, and some of them want to get clean of their addiction. And so they decide to go to this abandoned asylum that's up on the mountainside. And they get there, and it's basically inhabited by tons of feral cats. And then,
Bless.
being meth addicts that are trying to get clean, like they're not very nice to each other, and things
Mm.
start to kind of snowball and fall apart. And then also, like, there's something supernatural
I
also
mean,
going on.
it's a
I don't want
horror
to give
book
away
and
what it
it's a horror book. They're in an asylum. It's not going to be an okay place.
is. Right. Yeah.
I will say when I first like got this book and I saw the cover, I got like super like invested in the cats, and when I read the back, for some reason I just assumed that the main characters were cats. I was like,
Oh my God, that would have been
yeah, I
amazing.
was like, oh my God, these cats have moved into this asylum and like we're gonna find out what the cats, and then I read the first page and I was like, why does a cat why is it talking about having a gun? And I was like, what is like these are people. Like I don't know why I got
That's
super
awesome.
obsessed like with this idea that the main characters were gonna be cats, and I don't know like nothing. I reread the back and I was like, nothing should have given me this impression. I just saw the cover and I was like, cats.
I
Meth
do often
cats.
think about writing a story from the point of view of a cat, but I haven't done it yet.
Yet,
So I feel like
keyword.
so many
Yeah.
people do that so well. I don't know if I can pull it off. So I'm waiting for the perfect idea
Well, I
to
must
come
have
to
been
me.
in your brain because
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
foreseeing that future. So, can you tell us about some of the inspirations behind the subject matter in the story?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was actually going to the first Scares That Care AuthorCon in Virginia with my buddy
Ooh,
Anton, who's here. He just left
yeah.
the room.
Hi, Anton.
And we were driving to Virginia, and we went through a small town in the mountains, and there was this big, like, brutalist building up on the side of a mountain that was probably a house. Like, it was probably someone's house, but it
It was
honestly
so
looked kind of like a
haunted.
bomb
Yeah.
shelter.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I wonder what that was. And then, like, the story just kind of, came from there. And also, at the time I was really exploring, like, my own addiction issues and my own codependency issues. And often I write fiction as like a form of therapy, to like sort of think through, the ideas that I have. And so this story was kind of about mostly codependency, and addiction as well.
Hmm.
So um, that's kind of what came out.
Yeah, because the characters in it are like they're definitely all, but especially like the main character struggling with what they're dealing with and with their relationships with each other, and it kind of makes them like it gives them a lot of depth in the short form that the novella allows, which I was really impressed by, honestly. Like you
Well,
pack a
thanks.
lot of
Yeah,
character in, yeah.
that's always the hard thing about novellas for me. When I read a novella, I'm usually like, I wish there'd been more character development in this.
Yeah.
And one of the criticisms that I've seen from the early reviewers is, this just goes too fast. And I said, I mean, it's about
It's a
meth addicts.
novella. Yeah, and it's a novella. Like you got
Yeah, it's gonna go
it
fast.
yeah,
It's
it
gonna
does
go
start
real
off like at like 100 miles per hour, which I liked
fast.
because you just get like it has like the pacing of a horror movie, so like it never lets go, which I personally like.
Awesome.
So
Thank
yeah.
you.
So you talked about some of the inspirations and how it related to your life. So was the subject matter difficult to write about? So, for our audience, like there was, partner abuse, the drug use, and
Mhm.
also like cheating. So trigger warning when you obviously are going to buy the book and read it.
Right.
But yeah, was it difficult to write? Especially, I didn't know this before reading it. Like I didn't know it was such a personal topic as well.
Yeah, I am lucky that I don't have drug dependency. That's not my chosen addiction. So writing about a different type of addiction, I think gave me enough space to
Hmm.
not be torn apart by writing about it. But there were definitely parts. I think Anton likes to call my horror, what is it?
Cuddle horror.
Cuddle horror. And I
Oh,
think a lot of the time that's because I'm reluctant to be super mean to my main character. And in this one, I was
I
like,
mean, I was gonna
no,
say
I'm
you were
gonna
kind of mean
full
to her.
throttle. I'm gonna be so mean to them. So I knew going in that terrible things were gonna happen to these people. And I just kind of had to like, it helped that, I made them terrible so that I didn't mind as much when I had to do horrible things to them.
So, audience, keep that in mind. If you have sins on your soul, Sarah is going to do terrible things to you. I'm sorry. It's confirmed 2024 here. Oh, I forgot to Susan said this was when you were talking about writing an animal protagonist, says you can totally pull it off.
Thank you,
Yeah, so
Suze.
you have some
I
cheerleaders.
appreciate
Yeah.
it.
And what are you hoping readers will take away from Asylum?
For me, it's always just, if someone comes away thinking about, the themes, then that makes me happy. Like it doesn't have to change their life, but one of the reasons I love horror so much is because to me, it is the genre that is most likely to really change your paradigms, and it's most likely
Mhm.
to make you really see things from another person's point of view, and have a lot of empathy for those people. And so, that's just my hope is that it helps people to see how someone could end up in a really awful situation, how someone could end up, codependent and um, making, poor choices. Uh, and if it gives someone a little bit more empathy for other people, then that's more than I can hope for. So that would be that would be great. But honestly, if you just enjoy the story and you come out of it like, well, that was a fun crazy ride, what the hell did I just read,
Yeah.
then that's fine too.
I will say and I won't, no spoilers. When I read the ending, I definitely like put the book down and I was like, and I thought about it for like days afterwards. I was like,
Oh,
huh. Like this is not going to be a book I forget. And that's not something I say about everything. So we're really intriguing the audience now. Ooh, this is where my chat box is displaying. All right. So now it is time for our first giveaway of 3. So I'm going to spin my little browser wheel and you have to be here to collect. So make sure you say hi in chat if I call your name if you're the winner. After the event, I'll reach out via email, put you in touch with the press, and they'll mail you your paperback copy of Asylum. Yeah. So you have 3 chances to win. Super exciting. There we go. It's a beautiful cover. All right, let me hit this wheel. Mm. Oh, everybody give me drums in chat. Drums in chat. And I'll give drums. I don't know if my mic ever picks this up or people are like, what is she doing? Oh, I hope I say your name right. Sheena Perez. Sheena. 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 I hope I'm saying your name right.
hey
Hi,
there.
Sheena.
Yeah.
Congrats on being our first winner. So again, I'll
Thanks for
reach
being here,
out.
Sheena.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. The luck of the Irish is with you. Okay, so I'm just writing down your name. I will contact you after the event again, and then put you in contact so you can give the press your shipping address, and then they'll send you your copy. And again, if you haven't, make sure you follow our talented author here, the queen of glittery hot dogs. You have a Twitter, and I put your website in chat. All right. So that means this is probably everyone's favorite part of the event. It's the live reading. Yay. So do you have a
Yay.
passage picked out for us?
I like to just start at the beginning, especially with something that's so short,
Yes.
I feel like it'll give away too much if I skip ahead. So I'm gonna read the first chapter, and then we'll see how we are, on time.
Perfect. I mean, I'm going to speak for our audience, and longer readings are always popular, especially when it's your own event and you don't have to share the time.
Yeah, that's rare. So,
Yeah. All right,
um,
hit us with it.
all right. Okay. So this is chapter one. Ashley had become accustomed to living in chaos. Still, when Connor came home and dropped a gun on the coffee table, she felt something snap inside her. He was sweaty and wild-eyed and paced the room like a caged animal. She barely heard him rambling about how they had to leave. They had to find somewhere to go, and it had to be right away because her mind could only think about how this must be what rock bottom felt like. She didn't want to do this anymore. Dean came into the room with a duffel bag. Calm down and pack your shit, man. Sorry, YouTube. I'm going to cuss a lot. Connor whirled and shot Dean a death glare. Dean held up his hands placatingly, averting his eyes from Connor's face. Connor's hands fisted at his sides, and there was a tense moment where everyone froze, prepared for the usual violence. Then abruptly, he stomped out of the room. What the hell happened? Ashleigh asked, sitting up from the couch where she'd been languishing all day, dozing and watching TikToks on her phone. Dean shook his head and looked at the floor. Sweat had soaked through the t-shirt that clung to his lean frame. His hands shook. Connor got a gun in trade and thought it would be a good idea to hold up the corner store. Ashleigh gaped at him, panicked, zinging her nerves to full alertness. The corner store. Around the corner from here? Why didn't you stop him? What the fuck were you thinking? And then you came back here? We thought we could pull it off, but a cop walked in and we had to run. We're fine, by the way. All the shots went wide. Connor did stupid shit when he was high, but this was by far the dumbest thing he'd ever done. Ashleigh's ears filled with a weird buzzing sound, the sound of mounting panic. This squat was the best one they'd found in months. They hadn't even been caught yet, so no eviction proceedings were processing. They could have potentially lived here for months, through the winter even. But Connor and Dean had to go fucking it up. Ashleigh bit her tongue when Connor came back into the room. She wanted to scream at him, but she knew what the result would be, especially when he was high as balls and adrenaline was ripping through his bloodstream. Her stomach cramped with the willpower required to resist the rage that made her feel like her blood was on fire. Connor tossed a bulging laptop bag on the coffee table, knocking beer cans and an ashtray to the floor. Why aren't you packed? We need to get out of here. Ashleigh opened her mouth to respond, but a police siren wailed down the street. Connor threw himself to the floor, and Dean followed a second later. Ashleigh stood over them, shaking her head and crossing her arms across her chest. The police car raced past the house, the siren fading into the afternoon. You are such morons, she told them, kicking a beer can out of her way as she stormed into the bedroom. Connor followed her. That was a bitchy thing to say. You robbed the corner store, the one 2 blocks away. The cops will be here any minute. As she spoke, Ashleigh pulled clothes from the dilapidated dresser they'd rescued from the alley a few blocks away when some renters were evicted. She shoved the clothes into a trash bag, the same one she'd dragged here the last time they'd moved. I'm done, Connor. This is too much. Baby, baby, you can't say that. His strong hands closed on her upper arms and he turned her toward him. She wouldn't meet his eyes. You're going to get arrested and you'll go to prison and I'll be all alone. I might as well go back to my dad now. Connor pulled her close, pressing her against his lean chest, surrounding her with his masculine scent. No, baby, no. It's going to blow over. We just need a place to lay low for a while. We can go to Elliot's place. Nobody knows us over there. Ashleigh jerked away from him. Elliot? That fucking gross ass rapist? I'm not staying in a house with him. She shoved the last of her belongings into the bag. Besides, I want to get clean. Can't do that at Elliot's place. You want to get clean? Connor said it like the idea was a surprise to him, like she hadn't been talking about it for weeks. I don't want this life anymore. You can have it. She brushed past him to the door. Connor's long fingers closed around her arm and dragged her back to him. You don't want to make another baby with me anymore? He sounded so hurt it made her lungs clench. His fingers brushed her neck and sent a shiver across her skin. Ashleigh tightened her grip on the trash bag and grit her teeth. I'm not going to have a baby in this body, maybe ever. I'm not even sure I want one. Right now, I just want to focus on getting clean. Maybe then the answers would be clearer. Connor wrapped his long arms around her, pressing his lips against her temple. Then I guess we should go somewhere we can get clean. Dean appeared in the hall. Are you two coming? Ashleigh looked up at Connor over her shoulder. You mean it? He smiled that smile of his, that charming smile that made her melt, that smile that was somehow sad and hopeful at the same time. His eyes met hers, so intense, so intimate. She felt seen when he looked at her like that, like she was the only person in the world. He traced the shape of her jaw with his fingers. Of course, maybe we can get a motel room or something. We don't have any money, Dean said loudly. Kayla might, Connor replied. Dean sighed. We shouldn't get Kayla involved. You would just leave without her? Ashleigh asked. I think it would be best if she didn't get involved in all this. Yeah, Dean confirmed. Connor took the trash bag from Ashleigh and hefted it over his shoulder. She's the one with the car and money, dumbass. We need her. Dean scratched at the back of his neck and stared at the floor. She's so young. She's only been using for a few weeks. She can still get out, Connor. Connor shoved past Dean into the living room. You're the one who gave her that first taste, man. Besides, she loves you. She's not just going to let you go. That's why we don't tell her. Ashleigh studied Dean's face in the dim hall lighting. You would leave without telling her? Without saying anything? You'd just ghost her? Dean slapped the wall. God damn it, Ashleigh. It's the best thing for her. I'm no good. None of us are. From the living room, there came the sound of Connor having a one-sided conversation. Ashleigh and Dean rushed into the room. Connor had Ashleigh's phone pressed to his ear. Yeah, don't worry about the job. You can get another one. We need to get out of here now. Dean snatched the phone from him, tossing it across the room. Kayla's voice issued from it, high and panicked. The two men grappled while Ashleigh found the device under the threadbare recliner. Just come home, she instructed Kayla, and then hung up. God damn it, Ashleigh, Dean shouted. He raised his fist, and Ashleigh fell to her knees automatically. Connor, 5 inches taller and stronger in every way, grabbed Dean's shoulder and tossed him to the floor effortlessly. Don't touch her. Ashleigh scrambled to her feet. It's okay, Connor. I'm okay. It's not okay. Connor was fuming again, getting himself worked up. Apologize to Ashleigh, he commanded Dean. Dean picked himself up off the floor, straightened his t-shirt, and mumbled, Sorry, Ashleigh. Connor grabbed him by the front of his shirt, pulling Dean so close their noses nearly touched. Don't you ever fucking touch my girl, you understand? You ever do that again, and you'll be the armless wonder. Yeah, man, Dean croaked. I get it. That was the one good thing about Dean. He usually backed down from Connor before any real violence happened. He knew his place. Ashleigh went to the kitchen and started pulling whatever food she could find from the cabinets. Connor followed her. What are you doing? We'll need food wherever we're going. You guys get toilet paper, soap, whatever else we have. Kayla had done a grocery run that week, so they were luckily fully stocked. Ashleigh found a cardboard box under the heap of trash in the corner of the kitchen and started tossing boxes of snack cakes and packages of ramen noodles into it. She threw in a pot she'd stolen from a neighbor when they'd left their back door unlocked, and the bowls and utensils she'd stolen from the restaurant where she held a waitressing job a few months ago. Connor turned, but then hesitated in the doorway. You have a plan, don't you? Where do you think we're going? Ashleigh drew in a breath for courage. The asylum. Connor made an incredulous sound like a bark. I already told you no, no way. That place is creepy, it's too far from civilization, and there's no electricity, no water. She turned to face him, planting her feet firmly and placing her hands on her hips. And it's the last place anyone would look for us, for you. You've made it so we don't have a choice. Besides, it's not like we have electricity or water here either. Connor licked his lips and swayed, his posture tense, as if he wanted to argue. But then he nodded, wagging a finger at her, and his body relaxed. That's brilliant. You're brilliant, babe. He went out of the kitchen, and Dean took his place. The asylum? Ashleigh folded her arms over her chest. She was a few inches shorter than he was, and he had probably 40 pounds on her, but she wasn't intimidated, not by Dean. She raised her chin, as she had many times before, and stared him down with unflinching eye contact. Yeah, the asylum. Dean's nostrils flared, and he sucked his teeth. But after a few seconds of staring at the floor, he backed down. She gestured to the box. Finish packing this. I'm going to find what else we can bring with us. How long did that take? Do I have time to read another chapter?
Yeah, hit us with another chapter.
Okay. So in chapter 2, there's some like pregnancy miscarriage stuff. So if that bothers you, this is the content warning. It's like a flashback. Chapter 2. Kayla didn't want to drive them to the asylum. She didn't even want to leave the house. It took Dean nearly an hour to convince her the asylum on the mountain was their best option. Ashleigh, meanwhile, kept Connor calm in the back bedroom. He wanted to steal Kayla's keys and go without her. And while Ashleigh found that tempting, Kayla was the most useful person in their fucked up little family right now. Besides, she'd definitely report the stolen car to the cops, and that would make them even more vulnerable than they were now. While Kayla sniffled in the driver's seat, Ashleigh placed the packed bags and boxes in the trunk and climbed into the passenger seat. When everything was ready, Connor and Dean walked hurriedly from the house and slid into the back seat. Dean, barely more substantial than an aluminum folding chair, sat on the floor. Connor laid down on the seat with his legs tucked up. They looked ridiculous, like some kind of abstract performance art piece, and Ashleigh swallowed a grim laugh. Do you know how to get there? Kayla asked, looking at Ashleigh with watery eyes. Ashleigh nodded and gave directions. She'd figured it out months ago, the first time she'd suggested the asylum as a good home base. Excitement and dread warred inside her. They were finally going to get clean. She would finally get to have the life she dreamed of with Connor. No more selling drugs, no more living in abandoned houses until they were caught and evicted, no more shitting in buckets and burying it in the yard, stealing electricity from neighbors, drinking rainwater, or reading tattered paperbacks by flashlight at night. Things had been better when Ashleigh had been working. After a series of jobs that lasted no more than a few weeks, she'd gotten a job at the UDF a few blocks away. She'd liked that job. It was easy, and her boss was a customer of Connor's, so she didn't get in trouble if she was late for a shift. They had smoked all her income, of course, but that was okay too. Wasn't that what money was for? She had squirreled some away every paycheck in the hopes of eventually having first month's rent for a real place of their own, where they could have electricity, heat, air conditioning, running water, all the luxuries she'd had once before Crystal became more important than any of those things. But then she got pregnant. She didn't know right away, of course. She was 3 months in before she realized she hadn't had a period in a long time. She'd thought she was too skinny to have a baby. Crystal made it hard to keep on weight, and when she was really thin, Ashleigh just didn't bleed. It was like her body was saying she was too weak and her insides too toxic to produce life. 2 pregnancy tests had confirmed it, though. Ashleigh had been terrified. She'd never wanted kids. She was happy with Connor's attention all to herself, and she didn't know how to be a good mother anyway. Her own mother hadn't exactly been a shining example, though Ashleigh did admit she'd kept the lights on and the plumbing working in their little house, even as she went missing for days at a time on booze-fueled benders. Ashleigh had gotten high to deal with the stress of the pregnancy. She knew it might endanger the fetus, but at the time, she didn't care. She'd been smoking the whole 3 months she was unaware of the pregnancy, so what did one more time matter? If she had the baby, it would be fucked up either way. The miscarriage hadn't hurt. She'd woken up with blood soaked into the mattress and Connell panicking over her, thinking she was bleeding to death. Ashleigh hadn't wanted the baby, but she still cried and cried when she woke up after surgery and learned it was gone. So maybe she did want it. She still wasn't sure. Thinking about it made tears prick at her eyes, so she shoved the painful feeling in her stomach down, down until she couldn't feel it anymore, until she was just a head with no connection to her body, like a balloon. She could just drift away into a book, or if her dad had paid her cell phone bill, into social media or shows on streaming services. She didn't know why her dad kept paying the cell phone bill, but she suspected it was so that he and her stepmom could have some small evidence she was alive when she made a post on Instagram or watched a movie on their Netflix. That was a trade Ashleigh was willing to make, as long as she didn't have to talk to them or see them. They wanted her to come home. They wanted her to give up Connor, and she just couldn't do that. She'd tried, twice in fact, and both times she'd gone back to him. Something about him was just irresistible to her, like he was a negative magnet and she was a positive one, and they couldn't stop touching each other. She could feel his pull from miles away, maybe across entire galaxies. Their relationship felt like destiny. Chihuahuas bark a lot. Kayla followed the directions and turned onto a residential street. Eventually, the houses spaced themselves further and further apart as the car wound its way up the mountainside. The sidewalks disappeared and the road became uneven and pitted. Then it was just gravel, and the little car struggled with the steep incline. And then the road just seemed to end, and they could go no further in the car. Tall grass, massive shrubs, and skinny saplings blocked the way, nature reclaiming what mankind had once built. In the distance, the blocky gray asylum was sharp, like a blade against the soft blue sky. This is it, Ashleigh said, unbuckling her seatbelt when Kayla applied the brakes. What do you mean? Kayla asked. She peered out the windshield as if the asylum had a valet who would come out from behind a tree and ask for her keys. We have to go on foot from here. The road was allowed to grow over years ago. We have to walk? Why do you think I told you to wear your sneakers? Ashleigh climbed out of the car and went to the trunk. It's not far. Come and get your shit. Kayla followed her. That looks really steep. Connor and Dean unfolded themselves from the back seat and stretched, groaning. She said it's not far, Connor told Kayla. It's just a little climb, right, babe? Ashleigh pulled a box from the trunk and tossed her trash bag and a few bottles of water into it. I never said it would be easy. She grabbed a bungee cord from the trunk and tied it around the handhold on the side of the box. Then she turned and headed for the overgrown path, pulling the box behind her like a trashy sled. That's the end of chapter 2.
Yay!
Yay!
So in the beginning, we're all chatting about how cats would 100% hold up a corner store. Michael said they would knock over a corner store very well. And then
They would be high on catnip when they did it too.
they absolutely, they'd be going after the cans of tuna and the wet cat food. Um, Lenore said, I'm already invested. So awesome. Michael also said, I'm definitely heading for the hill. We got some claps as well. So thank you for the extra long reading. Love it.
Thank you. I love reading out loud. So,
You,
I haven't read this book in ages, like, because publishing takes a long time. So,
yeah.
so it's kind of nice to like revisit the characters and be like, oh man, Connor is such a big dick. Like,
Yeah, he's an asshole.
yeah.
And
To
you do have,
everyone.
yeah, you have an amazing reading voice. Like
Thanks.
really well paced. I really liked it. Yeah, excellent reading. Well done. Lots of claps and chat. And now it's time for our second giveaway. So everyone drums in chat, please. Who will win the second copy? Magic wheel. Let's go. Drums. Okay, here's another name I might mispronounce. Lenore Sagaski?
Yay.
Sagaski.
Lenore.
Lenore, are you here, Lenore? I think I saw you up there. Yay, congrats. So again, I'll contact you, put you in touch with the press after the event so you can share your shipping address and get your copy of the book. Now we're at the end part of the event. So we're going to do a Q&A, and then after the Q&A, we're going to do our last giveaway. So anyone who has any questions, put them in chat and I'll read them out loud. You can grill Sarah about her hot dog choices or her pet names. I'll start. Is there anything you're working on now? Do you have anything up and coming? Obviously the collection, which we mentioned in your bio. Anything else?
Yeah, so Chorus of Whispers is next. I actually had to buy a new laptop so that I could actually like do the edits that the editor wants me to do. So hopefully that'll be on in May. Um, and then I started a novel a while ago that I really want to finish. That's called Paradise Hollow, and it's a historical kind of a thing. And I'm a teacher, and it's about a woman who has to be a teacher. She steals someone else's identity and then doesn't know that she's
Ooh.
gonna have to like deal with children the whole time. And of course the place where she's teaching is mega creepy and there's all kinds of things going on. And it's been really fun to write, but I've taken a very long break from it. So that's what I need to get back to.
Oh, perfect. We'll look forward to that one. Um, so what is your writing process like a bit more? Like, do you have to have silence? Do you have music? Do you plot everything? Or do you pants everything?
That's a good question. I used to be a pantser. When I first started out, I would just sit down with an idea and a character and just kind of vomit out whatever came out, you know. Um, but then I learned how to plot. Actually, Lucy Snyder who's here, gave a class on plotting and on the, you
Thank
know,
you, Lucy.
yeah, and on the 5 point plot. And so I started doing that. And that actually is how I wrote my first novel, Entomophobia, was using the advice from the workshop that Lucy did. So she is entirely responsible.
All right.
um, and what I like to do when I start a story, if I have an idea, you know, I like to combine it with another idea. So I often will sit on ideas for a really long time. So like the cat story idea, I'm sitting on that right now and I'm waiting for there to be something else that I learn that I can mush together. So I was already thinking about writing a story about addiction and codependency. And then I saw the asylum on the hill and went, oh, and it just like all kind of gelled together. Um, and so that's usually what happens for me. I call it percolating. I have to percolate for a while and kind of,
I call
stew
it
on ideas until I
marinating.
can kind of, yeah, until I can kind of like get something to squish together. Um, and then I try to think about who is the person in this situation that would have the absolute worst time of it? Who is the person that would be the most negatively influenced by whatever is the setting, whatever is the,
So
the
you
story idea, the crux of the story idea.
you woke
So we
up
get
and
the
you
most
chose violence.
suffering. Yeah.
You woke up and you're like, how can I hurt somebody today?
But they also have the most growth, right?
Yeah.
So, and the most drama, it's most dramatic. And so I think my best stories have come out of my own fears and my own, things that I am genuinely worried about and anxious about. And then applying that to a character. The story that I told to Pseudopod, which will be in Chorus of Whispers, um, is about feral fetuses, basically. And after the 20, after the Trump election, right after he won, my biggest fear was like being forced. I have a pregnancy phobia, and so my biggest fear is being forced to like bear a child that I am not willing to bear. And so I wrote a story about a world where women are forced to give birth because if they don't, humanity will die out because there's this virus that infects children, and everyone's just waiting for a cure and hoping for a cure and trying to do their best with these feral children, right? And so that the story had been kind of percolating, and then I read a book. I can't, um, I'll have to look up the name of it. It was by the two women that have the true crime podcast. And it has
Um,
the F word in the title, and I can't remember what the title is, just that it has the F bomb in it. And so I read that, and they talked about abortion boats and how there are a lot of countries where abortion is illegal, but there are boats in international waters, and if you can get out to the boat, you can get an abortion legally.
like swimming.
And so that was the thing that gelled, right? Then I was like, I know where this story is going now, right? So I kind of just wait for something. I read a lot and I, listen to a lot of things and I watch a lot of things, and I just hope that eventually something will come along and the jigsaw pieces will fit together.
I definitely understand that. When I was writing for a disaster themed anthology, I was really struggling to think of something, and I saw uh this GIF online, or this video of this. Oh, this is going to be bad for you. A spider in
All
a
right.
barn. It was a large one, and the camera person had caught a cicada and said to the cicada, "Let's see you scream now," because I guess the cicada was being really loud, and like threw it on the web, and the spider came out and just went like ham, like 0 to 100, started wrapping this thing up. And I was like, oh my God, imagine if this was like a human-sized spider. Like how terrifying it would be to have
Right.
this thing like fall upon you and like spin you up that fast. And so I wrote a story about mechanical AI logistical spiders,
Cool.
that get a bad software update. But oh, Michael says
Awesome.
that story is amazing. I'm assuming about your pseudopod story.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I
It's
think
called
that
Tiny
lines up.
Teeth. I
The
think it's
tiny
the best
teeth.
story that I've ever written.
Yeah.
So,
Everybody get it. It's coming out in your collection. It's included in
yeah,
your collection, right? So everyone get the collection. The collection was called, where's your
Chorus
bio?
of Whispers.
Okay. Do you
Hmm.
know when it's coming out?
Hopefully May. I have
May.
to
So
finish
soon.
Michael's edits,
Yeah.
actually. He's the
Yeah.
editor. So,
Oh,
yeah.
thank you, Michael. So yeah, if you're into reading some terrifying fiction, make sure you pick up Sarah's collection as well. And obviously her novella is already out. And you said you went to AuthorCon, the original one. Are you going to the one this year?
I wish that I could. It's really hard for me because it's during the school year.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
if it was in the summer, no problem.
Children are holding you
I'm
back,
I do what I
really.
want in the summer, it's very long drive
Yeah,
um during the school year, and that's just extremely difficult for me. So
yeah,
I'm a tired person. I'm very tired.
yeah. I feel like a lot of writing conventions tend to be in the spring. Stoker is in April or May to June. It's right at the end of May, right? I think
I really lucked out last year that StokerCon in Pittsburgh
it's
was
in June,
in
right?
June. Like it
Yeah,
was in the middle of like my summer break. So it was like, of course I'm going to that. It's like a three
yeah.
hour drive. Yes. Yes.
So, if any organizers see this for Stoker AuthorCon, you obviously are anti-teacher unless you move the cons to summer months. I'm not saying it, Sarah is saying it. So,
Or just line it up with my spring break.
yeah,
Like that's
spring break,
all I
exactly.
ask,
Is
really.
that so hard to
Totally
do?
reasonable.
Oh, Lucy says sharpens her Stoker rec pencil. I would agree.
Aw,
Get
thank
Sarah
you.
on the ballot. We're allowed to say that, right? That's not against one of their many rules. I
I
don't
don't know.
understand the rules
I'm
half
not
the time.
asking, so hopefully
Yeah,
that's,
you haven't asked.
you know.
I'm pitching you. Okay, we're gonna do our people. You can still ask questions, but I don't want to lose anyone, so I'm gonna do the final giveaway. So put your drums in shot. That's my drum. I'm trying my best here. Oh, Eliza Broadbent. Eliza, are you still here?
Yay.
Hello, Eliza. She comes to all my events. So congrats, Eliza. If you're still here, you better be. You better be here to hear the end. What are you doing? There you go. Good. I would have had to make fun of you. Yay, congrats,
Congrats,
Eliza.
Eliza.
Yeah, congrats. Again, if you haven't won, the book is out now, so you can literally buy it right now from that link from the press. And
Yay.
also, if you haven't already, make sure you follow Sarah, especially if you want updates on her upcoming collection or upcoming publications. Make sure you follow her, check her out. Oh, Bill asks, any genres you'd like to try out in writing that you haven't yet?
Hmm.
Good question, Bill.
I've done a little bit of almost everything. The thing that I struggle with the most is like high fantasy, like with multiple POV characters, and the book is like 600 pages long. It's a doorstop. Like I don't know that I could ever
Yeah.
write that. I would probably have to write like a series of very short novels and
Yeah.
then moosh them all together or something. So that's the
Yeah.
genre that I would love to
You'd
be
have to make
able to write.
every novel as its own chapter.
Right. Because I'm very picky about high fantasy, but the high fantasy that I love, I absolutely love. And in one of the classes that I took with Richard Thomas, he had us list out like who are your favorite authors, and I was shocked by how many of them were actually fantasy authors. And I thought maybe I should be writing more fantasy, but fantasy is like really hard when you have ADHD.
Yeah. Well, who are some
Being
of your
that organized,
favorites? Yeah.
it's like a multi-year project.
Oh yeah.
Jacqueline Carey, 100%, is one of my all-time favorites. Tad Williams is phenomenal. Uh, all of his books are just incredible. Those are the two that come to mind immediately.
Yeah, I will say high fantasy done. I recently started reading Brandon Sanderson, and yeah, it's like
Yeah.
dictionary sized books.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh,
He wrote a great YA novel called The Rhythmatist,
oh
and I'm still
really?
mad that he hasn't written any follow-ups to that because that was really good.
Send him angry
It was
mail.
really good. I
He's already
know.
writing like 80 books a day. Why not another?
Right. Just squeeze another one in there. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Um, Susan asks, are you reading anything fun right now?
Um, yes, I am currently reading Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher. I'm reading that.
I love that
Uh,
author.
yeah, I love T. Kingfisher. I've mostly read her horror, so now I'm
Mhm.
branching out and reading her fantasy and other genres. And then I am also my smutty reading. I'm actually listening to Filthy Rich Vampires. which
Oh,
is like very straightforward.
yeah. They're
Like
filthy,
this book
they're
is
rich,
about
they're
filthy rich
vampires. Yeah.
vampires. Yeah.
Then Bill
I also
says,
read a
oh,
ton of webtoons. I read it. So if
webtoons,
you
yeah.
would like to talk for like 3 hours, I can recommend you a lot of webtoons.
Okay, top
They're like my
three.
current addiction. Okay. I love um Down to Earth, uh Quantum Entanglement, and then there's one called Klimt's Kisses that is just like straight up romance and it's adorable. And I don't know. Those are my current three. The other two have like a science fiction-y aspect, but Klimt's Kisses is just like
Oh,
people living in a house.
just
It's great.
kissing.
Yeah. It's just a real
Bill
ordinary story.
Bill says, "Hey, Murderbot stories are short." And
That's true. That's
Susan,
true.
yeah, Susan said, "You had me at smutty vampires." I
I
mean,
love
don't they
Smutty
all?
Vampire.
Don't they all? All right. If no one has any more questions, I do. I always do. I kind of your comment about having ADHD and struggling with longer works kind of popped another question. How do you organize your longer works, like when you do write them?
So I plot them out, and I have found that that actually really helps to keep me focused. Because usually what happens is I start the book, and then about halfway through, I go, I don't know where this is going. And then I sort of lose interest and start something else. But if I have it all plotted out and I know where we're going and I know what the ending is going to be, and I'm excited to get my characters to that ending, that really helps to motivate me. It really, really helps. So learning how to plot really, really helped me. I even do it with short stories now. And you asked before about whether I wrote like in silence or with music or whatever.
Yeah.
I can write in any conditions. I could write like if there were bombs falling and we were in a bomb shelter, no problem because I have the inattentive type ADHD. So while other people like are hyperactive, all the hyperactivity is in my brain. And the thing about ADHD is it's not really a deficit in attention. For me, it's over attention. I struggle with going from one thing to another thing. So once I'm locked in and I'm writing, I can write for 8 hours and like then when I
Oh.
come out of it, I'm like, who are you? Where am I? Why
What
am I
year is
hungry?
it?
And I have to pee. Yeah, but but like once I get locked in, I can really go. So and I write really fast too. So so I'm kind of lucky in that way. I can sit in the living room while my family's playing a video game and write, no problem. Or if I'm alone in the house, I can write in silence or I can write with music. I do try to avoid music that has English lyrics
Makes
because that's
sense, yeah.
distracting. That's very distracting. But I love like Middle Eastern music is great because I don't know what the words mean, but it's real pretty. So
And another important question to wrap up this evening. Have you written Smutty Vampires before?
it's possible. Yeah.
Okay, so everyone
In
DM
a parallel
Sarah for
universe.
her pen name, for her smut name, and we'll find out. Susan is like DMing you right now. Well, again, thank you so much, everyone, for spending some of your Sunday night with us, recovering after the St. Pat Tuesday mayhem. And Sarah, thank you for letting me host your book celebration. And congrats again on your book coming out. It was a lovely
Thanks.
read, and it was lovely to have you on and like meet you. I'm pretty sure we've been in cons together, and I just don't know how I haven't met you yet.
Yeah, we'll have to
Yeah.
make that happen
We're gonna have
at the
to
next
get some
event.
coffee and talk about smutty
Uh,
vampires really loudly.
yes, for sure. For sure. Thank you for having me on your channel. I really appreciate
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah,
thank you
it's been
everyone
so
for
much
coming. I
fun.
love you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. And if you know of anyone who has missed the event, don't worry, it'll be up on my YouTube channel and they can watch it there. And if you just want to re-listen to the reading because Sarah was really good at it, you can do that too. So again, thank you so much. And everyone, have a great night. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, link to the YouTube channel. That's a good point, Bill. You can work for me now. I always forget to do that. I swear I just say it and I'm like, just, know me somehow. Let's see. So it's called Plym Talks, and the link is this one. So it has all the events I do plus interviews and all that fun stuff. So yeah, check it out. I'll also be sharing the link on my Twitter. So Sarah will retweet that. So as long as you're following Sarah, you will get to the link eventually.
Bye to everyone. Well,
Yeah, say
Anton's gonna
hi.
make me say bye because these people
Okay.
love you.
Anton.
Bye and bye.
Hi and bye, everyone. Have a good rest of your
Bye.
night. Bye.
Thanks, Slim.
Thank you.